Hey guys, per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. So this was the last rising wedge that broke up. So from now on, anytime someone questions you on that logic, you can say, I was there in 2016 when that rising wedge broke up. So there were some various variables that may have caused it to break up, such as the higher time frames, being bullish, fundamentals, Christmas, futures, all sorts of stuff. But I will always trade the rising wedge as a rising wedge. I will always short it. Maybe the short was a little too early. It's always better if you wait, obviously. Waiting means you risk missing the trade. I think 805 was a fine stop. If you look on the lower time frames, you can sort of see that between 800 and 805 was kind of where it took off up. So that is what it is. This is how it looked on the 3-day again if you missed it. Again, convincing. I'll trade it like that every time. That's not even me being stubborn. That's just rising wedges. Probability breaking down over up is so much greater that it just makes sense. And again, these were just the cloud telling you on the hourly, the cross recross to go long, and then on the 4-hour cross recross to go long. And just to mention this again, we're in the decision weeks of futures where the quarterly contracts matter more than usual. So we might see this picture again here. I don't think we will, but it's definitely worth not selling the farm over going long on 10x, knowing that this stuff is certainly possible. Now, this was largely Finex here, but who knows? I mean, it happened here as well, where you get this up-down thing on quarterly settlement. So this yellow this week will be the last quarterly, which is currently the weekly settling. So that'll be the last of that quarter, all those contracts closing. Most of those contracts have already closed. I don't know the percentages or the numbers, but you can find them. They're out there. So here's weekly Bitstamp. You can see we made a new high. I don't have RSI on here, but the RSI is lower. It's not technically a div until after the fact, which is why divs are sort of lagging and not always the best indicator of things. But currently it's RSI is not higher than it was here. Something that I think everyone's looking at is, are we going to get 3 more candles up on weekly like we did here? I think that's possible. Even here, that's another similar scenario. And this would complete the three drives in like a big time frame. The third weekly candle, additional candle, would probably go up to 1300-ish. And we'll look at that again on the pitchfork. That's something to keep an eye on depending on how futures close. Here's the daily pitchfork, nothing new. Hasn't changed since November. So we were talking last night in Whale Club Telegram about what TA is and what it does and blah, blah, blah. The point is it helps you with probabilities. So, the fact that people can see this weeks in advance and make a certain probability prediction based on this tells you that it works, it does exist, whatever. Now you might ask yourself, why were you short if this was clearly bullish? Again, I was expecting a pullback that just didn't happen based on the rising wedge. So that's the cup and handle chugging along nicely. This is the pitchfork. Again, I'm expecting a touch of something up here. And for me, this would be a sell even on spot signal. Now, it may go to infinity after touching this line, but it certainly hasn't so far. So, the trend is your friend. And for me, that trend is going to be somewhere between 12 and 1400. I can see us touching that zone and then consolidating for a while on the previous all-time high and then making a decision from there, which is why I think a good zone to sell some or all of your spot holdings would be in that zone, at least for me. And again, this 227, who knows if it's relevant, but that brings us to about February 2nd. So a few months down the road. Daily cloud, not much to say other than bullish. Everything's bullish. I don't have lagging span on here, but it's definitely above price. Cloud is bullish. It's overbought, but it has been since November, so that's nothing new. It can certainly continue to be overbought, but when it gets like this distance from the Kijun, it can go higher, but the higher it goes, the higher the probability of reversal. So it can certainly go to infinity above the Kijun, but do I personally want to take a long when we're $300 above the Kijun? No, I don't. So, if we get this insanity to 1300, which is probably going to happen, again, that's another sell signal. We're way overbought based on the daily Kijun. This is the OKCoin index. Just some horizontals in case you're curious. You can see we broke cleanly around 770. I like horizontals at the candle bodies instead of the wicks. So you can see that was definitely a signal that this is probably going to go higher, even though I was short again. So depending how you played that, basically where I went short is where you may have gone long, depending on what you were looking at. And then this is just my estimation of the index's all-time high, somewhere around 1160. So what am I currently looking at right now? I'm looking at 30-minute cloud. Why am I looking at such a low time frame? Because it's captured the entire trend accurately. It tells you to go long here. It tells you to close your long here. The 30-minute pullback got hit on the Kijun bounce, so that's what you want to see. You can see this bull flag clearly. You can see the head and shoulders, which did end up materializing. I talked about it last night. It definitely had the volume profile. You can see that on this exchange, this shoulder was not as high as the previous shoulder, and the head wasn't necessarily that much higher than the previous shoulder. So again, when you're looking at these patterns, they're not always going to look perfect on every time frame, every exchange, every asset you're looking at. Also, the neckline was diagonal. Something else to realize is the neckline here is the median line of the pitchfork. So I was saying this comment here was telling me that the median line means something. It bounced twice at almost exactly the median line of the pitchfork from 2015. So that line definitely is important. And you can see we broke down from that line. So no surprise there, even though it's diagonal. And then just to show you how it looked on the other exchanges. Again, head is higher here. The volume profile wasn't there. So, people always give me trouble about any sort of pattern I post anywhere. The point is you need to look for yourself on multiple exchanges to determine what probabilities will be. And again, Cloud told you get out of your long here. So it saved you, this entire move down $30 plus. And then here is the same thing on CNY. You can see this probably looked best on CNY. However, the horizontal support on the bull flag, it didn't go as low. It went basically to the top of the bull flag. So again, you have lots of exchanges to look at, lots of things to consider. Definitely consider them. They're all there. If you're trading CNY, look at CNY. Volume profile was here. Another thing I didn't mention on all these, it's sort of the RSI trend. If you're looking for another confirmation of entry, early entry, you can see we broke RSI trend on all these after hitting the approximate target of the head and shoulders. So if we go to currently, what I'm highlighting here is this Kijun twist, which is always an opportunity for price to go through because it's saying there's basically zero support or resistance in this area, so anything is possible. If we go to the CNY chart here, it's close. It's not perfect, but that's one example of what may be happening and when that the cloud can tell you. So if I go back to 30-minute stamp real quick, again, what am I looking for? Price above cloud, bullish TK cross, lagging span above price and cloud. Your entry, a solid entry for me, I think would be above cloud and above this diagonal neckline of the previous head and shoulders and of the median line from the pitchfork. So I think all that's saying is this is currently resistance. So if we make it above this with a bullish TK cross, I think that's a very strong go long signal. What I'd much prefer is cloud to just flatten out, everything to go flat, sort of sideways up, consolidating on the midline, and then sort of everything flipping bullish on lower time frames. If we get that, I think we'd get a bigger move up versus a quick TK recross here, and then we'd certainly get a move up, but it may not be as big as a week of consolidation, which I don't know if we'll see, but that's what I'd like to see. So if we go back to the current stamp chart, you can see we're almost around the Kijun twist and attempting to breach the cloud right now. So again, what are you looking for? For a go long signal, a TK cross above the cloud when price is above the cloud. So what'll probably happen is it'll break out a little bit and then pull back to this level, and then you'll see the TK cross, and then you'll see the cloud twist, and all those will be the long signals one after the other. And then just to go back to why I'm looking at 30-minute, if you look at 4 hour doesn't really capture what really happened. It's kind of blown out. So if you zoom down, so I just zoom down, this is what I do when I'm looking. I just zoom down. Okay, 3 hour, no, doesn't really capture it very well. 2 hour, not really either. There's no Kijun bounces. That's what I'm looking for. Also looking for price to be sort of close to the cloud. Hourly's pretty good because, again, this TK cross stuff is close to the cloud, but we never got a Kijun bounce the whole time, so that doesn't really give me great entries, re-entries rather. It did have this flat Kumo, but again, it's not rocket science, just this horizontal here. So what am I looking for? Just looking for Kijun bounces on some time frame, and that's why I settled on 30-minute on stamp. So that's what I'll be looking for here. So per usual, like, dislike, share, subscribe, hit me up on Twitter and Telegram, and happy trading.